was a crowded race to fill the seat of retiring Congressman Jerry Nadler. A poll from earlier this month shows Assemblyman Michael Lasher and Alex Bowles leading, with political newcomer Jack Schlossberg in third place. Schlossberg, a grandson of former President John F. Kennedy, bills himself as, quote, the only real Democrat running in the very blue New York City district. And Jack joins us now ahead of the June 23rd primary.
Jack, the most important thing we need to tell viewers, just like our guest prior to Jack Coyne, you also have done track star, and
how did you do?
You went to high school with Jack.
That's right. The cool older Jack. I was so happy to be on track star. He's doing a great job.
Yeah.
And it's a great idea. They've really are onto something.
You believe it? Yeah, he's built up so much. So it's funny, we were talking, I showed that poll, we were talking about when I ran, and, you know, I think 3 weeks out, I was down like 45 to 12%, and I was thrilled because I said, I get 12%. But I thought, hey, you know, and what I found is the last 4 weeks of a campaign is really when people focus. What are you going to do over the final 4 weeks of this campaign to show people in this district that you're the guy that needs to go to Washington?
I'm going to keep doing what we've been doing, that's shaking hands and having real plans to help the people of this district, like deducting your rent from your taxes, making Trump pay for the cost of Trump Tower, and investing in cops, teachers, and transit, making HIV prevention medication free at the point of care, making the child tax credit paid monthly, not annually, and just be out there at the subway stop shaking hands and meeting the great people of the city.
What are you hearing the most from constituents? I'm always fascinated talking to people running for Congress, what they're hearing from people on the street as they campaign. What are you hearing most? What's the issue that matters most to people that you want to represent?
People get what's going on. They know that we've got to change the way our government works. We've got to start believing in politics again. Otherwise, things are going to get worse and worse, more expensive here in the city. People are being pushed out. I grew up here. I've lived here my whole life, and the city has changed a lot, and there's a lot that we can do to make it better for people who live here, because we don't want people going anywhere. I want people to stay here. I love it here. It's the best place on earth. But, you know, people get what's going on with the president, and the level of corruption that we are seeing from this administration, I think, resonates with just about everybody. The president's made $4 billion since he got him and his family since taking office. It's out of control, and people can see it. And you know, New Yorkers, this is where the Bill of Rights was signed. We care about our civil rights and freedom of speech, and the president's assault on it, and with his latest slush fund, that's something that people, you know, made them really upset.
So, Jack, I've lived on the Upper West Side for more than 20 years. Clearly, people there, a majority, don't like Donald Trump as president of the United States. But how do you strike that balance? Because some of the candidates in the race are really talking about Donald Trump a lot. Others are talking more about affordability and how expensive it is to live in this city. How do you strike that balance between being critical of the president, but also dealing with what's happening on the ground in people's lives?
Well, you know, I think that we've got so much support, and that is just one poll. We were up in the polls for a pretty long time, about 4 solid months. We held the lead, and that was just one poll that came out. So what we're hearing is that people want someone like me who they can trust, because they're not backed by a Republican billionaire, someone from outside this district trying to buy an election here. This is going to be one of the most expensive races in the country, and people want to know that you're not bought and paid for. And this is ultimately one of the most consequential elections, both for our country, but also for the Democratic Party, because what happens here right now is going to set a tone. And I'm running against people who would rather take $5 to $10 million apiece and put it up on TV ads while talking about how they want to reform Citizens United and take on corruption in Washington, and not offering any plans, real plans, like deducting your rent from your taxes, as rent in New York have become higher than ever before.
Right.
People want to know that you're there listening to them. So I think people want someone they can trust, someone who's an actual Democrat, in the sense that they're going to get elected with a grassroots political campaign like what we're running.
You know, your district, the demographics of your district on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, you've got a large number of people who are actively involved day to day in what's going on with the world. How many times are you asked about Israel and the United States and the partnership in a war in Iran?
Well, this district has been a safe haven for Jews for centuries, and this is one of the highest Jewish concentrations of Jewish voters in the country, and their community has experienced a lot of anti-Semitism over the last certainly several years, especially in the last year. So I think that people feel targeted here in the city because of their religion, and that Judaism and Israel have become very linked in people's minds, and it's hard to you're forced to have to pick a side for some reason. And I think our campaign is all about not doing that and trying to get toward a peaceful solution. But it's top of mind for a lot of Democratic voters. And I'm proud to say that of those running, I'm the only one who wants to stop weapons sales to Israel, support the Iron Dome, but stop weapons sales to Israel. And I think that, it's an important question that every candidate needs to be asked and needs to answer.
Why do you want to stop weapons sales?
Well, because I've opposed the war in Iran since day one because I thought it was a terrible idea, not because I have any sympathy for the Iranian government, but because it's not going to achieve the stated goals, if there even were any. And we've lost a war of choice with Iran that is now stronger than it was in many respects in terms of their negotiating power than, when we launched the strike. And I think opposing that war means opposing all funding for the war. And we're fighting alongside Israel. And I think that doesn't mean we should take away our support for the missile defense program, which keeps 600,000 Americans, by the way, safe in Israel, and civilians as well. But people don't, I don't think that the United States can stand behind that any longer. And Trump and Bibi are an obstacle to peace.
And Jack, lastly and briefly, a policy proposal you and your campaign have put out is the monthly mom's bonus. Yes. Explain to people what that is and how you'd pay for it.
Yeah, so we call it the Mom's Monthly Bonus. I announced it on Mother's Day with my mom. Moms are the best, and we got to do as much as we can for them. During COVID, the child tax credit, which is now paid annually, was paid monthly, and child poverty was reduced dramatically. So my proposal is one that I would introduce as soon as I got elected to Congress to make the child tax credit direct deposited by the IRS into ACH accounts monthly instead of annually, because that's how working families budget. And it's going to be paid for. This is the best part. The president's already paid for ballroom. Has been appropriated $1 billion by GOP in Congress, and we're going to take. I think he would agree with Jack Schlossberg if he knew there was an extra $1 billion lying around that it should be going to hardworking moms.
Okay.
All right, candidate for U.S. Congress, Jack Schlossberg. Thank you very much for coming back on the show. It's good to have you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.